We live in a world where the internet is pretty much used daily, and with stuff like social media, meeting up with new people became so much easier. You can find someone that has a similar topic with you, exchange a couple of words, and boom, you suddenly have a new friend. And on top of that, you can even do this being anonymous, with nobody really knowing you how you look, or even knowing your real name. So what happens when an individual takes this information into their own advantage, to appear on the internet as if they're someone else, but in reality they're a completely different person, on top of also taking advantage of multiple lonely men and stealing thousands and thousands of dollars pretending to be someone else. In this video, I'm going to talk about how an Osu mapper managed to pull off the biggest scam in Osu history. This is the curious case of Muecho. Muecho is a pretty well-known beatmap maker in Osu. She has loads of popular ranked maps in the beatmap section. Some notable maps of hers include stuff like Twintel Dreamer, Wings of Courage, Let's Go Crimson Knight, Let the Wind Tell You, and many more other ranked beatmaps. On top of that, Muecho also has a lot of very popular guest beatmap difficulties on popular beatmaps like, for example, Take, Boss Rush, Hitori Goto TV Mix, Kimi no Shirai Monogatari, and as you can tell, the list is pretty huge. On top of that, Muecho has won multiple mapping contests rewards, the more notable ones being the Mapper's Choice Award for 2020 as well as for 2021. If you know Muecho though, then you already know that she goes under the handle @Moeriko_ on Twitter, where she posts all different sorts of cosplay and let's just say thirst trap pics or something like that. And though if you know the Osu community, then you already know that profiles like this gather a ton of attention. There are multiple examples that I can give from people that have gathered a ton of attention by posting these types of pics in the Osu community, from top players like Milktism to other mappers like Funzen0019, or the one that absolutely everyone likes to go nuts about, Saex-chan. There's no surprise that in the Osu community there's loads of horny people that simply just wanna see stuff like this, and while taking into accountability that all of these accounts that I just listed get loads of attention when they post stuff like this, there's bound to be at least one person that has a spare amount of cash that they would donate to these people to maybe see a little more extra. So Moeriko aka Muecho decided to take this information into her own advantage and open up a profile on the platform by the name of Ko-fi. For those of you that don't know, Ko-fi is pretty much a platform similar to Patreon, where you can donate a certain amount, whether that being through a donation or a membership subscription to a certain content creator, and in return you will get a bit more extra content from them. Loads, and I mean loads of people use this platform on a daily basis, and our subject in this video decided to open up a profile on Ko-fi to maybe get a bit more extra support from her fans, and in return they would get a bit more cosplay pics, or just in general a bit more content. And well, a general theme of the pics, or should I say cosplays, that Moeriko would post on her Twitter and on her Ko-fi page is the fact that she would always blur her face with the profile picture that she usually uses on her social media. And well, a couple of other Chinese players have been pretty suspicious around the stuff that she has done so far. However, their suspicions would be confirmed when a friend of Kotoki, a Chinese Osu player, would find out that one of the cosplays that Muecho has posted is actually a picture from another cosplaying account on a different Chinese social media by the name of Xiao Hongshu. And well, after this discovery, Kotoki and a few other people decided to do a little bit of research. What would follow is some shocking information that absolutely nobody expected. On the 26th of June 2024, Kotoki would post a document by the name of Moeriko Extermination Squad Real. The document states this: what happened? Someone discovered that @Moeriko aka Muecho in Osu has all the images on her, or maybe he, Twitter stolen, including the donate only on her Ko-fi. This sheet is only used to archive images she has tweeted with a note about the original source if they found, so if you want to follow the original author rather than Moeriko, this sheet will work well for you. The document does indeed link all of the original creators that the cosplay pictures belong to, and while it is shown that Muecho aka Moeriko has posted over 275 cosplays pretending to be her, most of which are publicly available on the Chinese social media app. On top of that, Kotoki and a few other people also discovered the fact that she has received over 1,800 plus coffees, which if you take into consideration that the minimum amount to donate is $3, then Moecho aka Moeriko has allegedly stolen over $5,400 from multiple people from her pretending to be other cosplayers. However, this is not the only thing that Moecho has stolen. You see, on some of the maps that Moecho has so far ranked, some of these songs were apparently covered by her herself doing the vocals of the song. A more notable example is the map by the name of Kawaiiku Naritai, where it is listed on the description of the map that this is a cover song apparently. The same was apparently done on this map as well. However, Kotoki posted on Twitter that in fact on these two maps the vocals were not hers as well, posting the source videos of the covers that were done on these songs were actually videos that were uploaded on the Chinese platform by the name of Bilibili. And well, as you might have guessed, the community reactions to all these two informations have been absolutely shocking. The fact that a mapper actually managed to steal this amount of money and to get this much attention off of pictures that aren't even theirs is absolutely crazy. The fact that it takes so much little amount of effort to do something like this. People were even joking that this would be a Fear Situation 2.0. However, the jokes that I just mentioned might have actually been real when you take into consideration that Kotoki posted a second document related to Moecho. Okay, so after all of these exposés that were done on Moecho, what else could there possibly be to expose about this fraud so far? Well, it turns out there's actually a lot more to expose about this person. The document goes over like this. Ever since Moecho aka Moeriko chose to game and himself, a suspicious account that everyone will soon forget went online. Chokori is a Prodigy rookie mapper who claimed to be Moecho's apprentice, so he had a similar mapping style to Moecho and has a badge. In the first part of the document, they go over the evidence as to how they found out that Moecho's vocals were not real and they were actually stolen vocals. And well, they managed to find these stolen vocals on an app by the name of Vaxei, which is an online karaoke posting app from China made by Tencent. And well, on the profile of the person that had their vocals stolen, they managed to find an interaction between the vocalist and another person, in which that person's IP and profile settings were apparently linked to Nanning in China. The profile's name was Intsuki. Through this IP, they managed to find Intsuki's profiles on Weibo and on the other Chinese platform that we mentioned in this video, and Intsuki apparently had multiple accounts of the original author whose pictures were stolen by Moecho in his follow list. However, the breakpoint was when they found out that on Moecho's Twitch account, he apparently had his QQ account linked to his Twitch profile, and well, on the QQ account they can see that when they tried to search up the phone number that was on the QQ account, they found out that two accounts were actually linked to this phone number. The first one was to a person by the name of Moecho, and the second one was to a person by the name of Intsuki. And well, with this information, they pretty much confirmed that Moecho was actually a guy this entire time. And on the final part of the document, they go over as to why Chokori, the Osu profile that we previously mentioned, is actually Moecho's multi-account that also has a badge. The only thing that Chokori had on his profile linked was his QQ account, which had a different phone number linked to the Moecho phone number. However, this time they managed to find a Chinese phone number, and well, with a little bit of research, they managed to find out that this Chinese phone number was linked to Intsuki's Baidu Taibo account. Combined with the fact that the Chokori account was only active while Moecho was restricted on Osu, this pretty much confirms that Moecho is actually Chokori, or should I say Chokori is actually Moecho. Despite all of the evidence that was provided by multiple people in this document, as we're recording this video, Moecho and Chokori are still not banned in Osu. But with the fact that Moecho decided to private their Twitter account right after this information was posted, you can pretty much say that they might be guilty in this situation. But moral of the story is, be careful with what you do on the internet, and be careful with who you talk to on the internet, because you never know if they're actually the person you're talking to. But yeah, my name is Stu, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Picture this, you are on summer break and you decide to play one of the most popular music platformers that has ever been made, Geometry Dash. You launch up a level, and then a few seconds into your gaming session, you get a message from your friend saying that he wants to chill with you in VC on Discord. He decides to show you this cool rhythm game that he found through a YouTube video called Osu. It's your first time ever seeing a game similar to what you were playing previously, and you are pretty interested at what you're looking at. Endless amount of banger maps, amazing songs that you probably know about, and fun gameplay that has you hooked instantly. This may sound very relatable since a lot of people have been introduced to the game like this, and the player that we're going to talk about today started out his journey in this exact way. This is the story of Ninerik, one of the best mouse and speed players that the game has ever seen. Was that me or did something in the background happen? Never mind that, let's just continue. Ninerik is currently the number 4 player in the Osu global leaderboards, and he's considered to be one of the best mouse players and speed players in the game. As we said previously, he got introduced to the game by his friend, and he registered his account on the 23rd of July 2017. The first ever map that he played in Osu was one of the default maps that came with the Osu download, which is Tier Rain. I think most people recognize this map, and as you can see by this graph, he was pretty interested in the game, playing it from time to time and slowly but surely increasing his play count. When Ninerik started off playing the game, he was playing on a Mac, and after reaching around 50 to 60k rank, he finally decided to switch to PC. Keep in mind that in 2018 it was way easier to reach 50 or 60k rank because in 2018 Osu had way less players compared to now. And I also can't show you his earlier progression in the game just because of the fact that he switched from Mac to PC. However, that doesn't mean that his later progression isn't as interesting. Ninerik managed to set his very first 200 PP play in August of 2018 on this map's difficulty with double time. He kept grinding, and with the grind, of course, came an improvement. And that's how in December of 2018 he managed to get his very first 300 PP play on Haro Magic Clover. And I don't know if it's me, but as you can see by this graph right here, you can see that Ninerik had a bit of an improvement spark, because in December, right after setting his 300 PP play, he just kept improving and improving, and as you can see, in literally just 1 month after setting his 300 PP play, he managed to set his very first 400 PP play, this time on Hitori Goto with Hidden DT. Later on in October of the same year, he managed to get his very first 500 PP play on Hidamari no Uta, but because a few months later that play got nerfed for obvious reasons, that reason being the double tapping streams, he considers his Hidden DTFC on Rockefeller Street to be his very first 500 PP play. 2 months after setting his very first 500, he set his very first 600 PP play on Guinea Pig Bridge, and a month later he finally managed to set another score that was above 600 PP, which was a 702 PP play with Hidden Nightcore on Chica do Chica Chica. In 2019, Ninerik was mainly a DT aim jump player, and considering that most players at that time were jump players, he wanted to switch up a bit and do something else. So that's why in 2020 he started focusing more on grinding speed and stream maps. One of the main and big factors for the reason why he switched to speed is because of his inspirations, believe it or not. OGs like Erisen, Hunter, and even Mo Yandere really had an influence on this switch up that Ninerik did. At the time, believe it or not, speed wasn't as common as you would think, and it was relatively regarded as a unique skill set at the time since it wasn't the meta as it is today. Now you might be wondering, what did Ninerik do to be able to learn speed? Did he maybe use a routine for practicing and training speed, you may be wondering? Well, no, he legit didn't have a specific routine for practicing speed. He simply just played the songs from maps that he really liked. Danonuta, Snowstorm Euphoria, Destroyer, and Monochrome are some of these examples. He played maps of those types to improve his speed, and if he ever wanted to improve his stamina, he would play maps like Freedom Dive or other maps that were around 220 to 230 BPM range. And that was simply it. He just kept playing and doing this exact same thing over and over again until he finally managed to get the results he was satisfied with. Some of his very first speed plays includes his first ever DTFC on DMC, and the DT choke run on Chore X. He would still farm DT aim though, because at the time it was still the meta. In 2021 he would continue farming his occasional DT aim maps, but he would set a DT speed score from time to time. Maps like Just Arise, You Suck at Love, Yubi Bonkyu were the typical DT aim maps he would play, but as for DT speed, you would expect something like Zevo, Plasma Gun, and he even has a pretty interesting speed score on Yellow Trick. 2021 overall was a pretty good year for Ninerik, but towards the end of that year is where the game-changing part starts. At the end of every year, the Osu World Cup does get hosted, and in 2021 Ninerik did play for the Norwegian team, and during that time is when he realized that tournaments are a lot of fun. So the end of 2021 would mark the start of the year where Ninerik decided to focus more on tournaments. But the big game-changing factor is when the new Zixer PP rework was released. This would pretty much change the entire meta of the game, and instead of focusing on DT aim, it would slowly but surely shift its focus towards consistency, speed, and many more other things. But since Ninerik was focusing more on DT speed, he greatly benefited from this rework, believe it or not, going from rank 157 all the way to 71 in the time span of November 2021 all the way to January 2022. And if you were wondering what were Ninerik's initial thoughts on this PP rework, well, this is what he said. I initially knew about the PP rework that favored speed many months before it actually happened, which motivated me to farm a lot of maps I knew were going to be buffed beforehand. I was ecstatic when the rework was brought out. Not only was I happy to finally be awarded for my specific skill set that was underrated earlier, but I was also happy for other players I knew of that shared the same exact skill set as me. Later on though, the skill set became inflated and it started feeling more worthless after every day that passed, but I didn't let that hinder my improvement at all, and I just kept playing as usual. As you can see by the graph that I'm showing you right now, you can see that he slowly but surely focused his shift towards more speed maps and stream maps, which is expected by the rework that was released previously. And I think it's the perfect time now to address something that a lot of people might be questioning. Why did Ninerik always stick with mouse and never switch to tablet? And well, it's a pretty interesting fact, but for those of you that don't know, Ninerik is actually left-handed, but he plays mouse with right hand, which, believe it or not, is actually pretty common for a lot of people that are left-handed. I personally know two people that are left-handed but also play mouse with right hand. So for him to switch to tablet, not only will he have to switch his hand for aiming, but also his tapping hand, which pretty much means he has to relearn the game once again, and it would take a lot of time, which ultimately wouldn't be worth it as much. And that's the main reason why he stuck to mouse, and oh boy did that pay off in 2022. One of the first major pop-offs that Ninerik had around this year was around March to May of 2022, where he jumped from rank 67 all the way to rank 36. He was setting a lot of plays on maps like, for example, Hinitachi no Kibu, Juvenile, and let's not forget the one and only Lionheart. Ninerik kept grinding the game in summer of 2022 as per usual, and in August of that year something really interesting happened. Ninerik finally managed to get his very first 1k PP play on Lionheart, but there's a little bit of a twist. He literally swapped the MP3 file of the song and just played the entire map and FC'd it.
No way 1k! No way 1k! 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 I fucking did it! Yes!
This is the swap MP3 method, and it became a big meme at the time when Ninerik did that. Other than Lionheart, in the same month he also managed to FC Glory Days, right before it became a pretty popular speed farm map for most top players. From September all the way to mid of December he was pretty busy with school, so he wasn't as active in Osu. But oh boy, Christmas came along, and with Christmas came along a free 1k PP play map, which was simply Scytho's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That day he also got a choke on Chikyu Saigo no Kokukaku and Asu no Yozora. Thanks to all these pop-ups that he had in the end of December, he managed to solidify himself in the top 20 in early 2023. And well, 2023 was simply the year of Ninerik. We can talk about his plays for hours and hours, but I'm just going to talk about one of my favorites. April 29th, 2023. Ninerik was simply having another stream where he was farming BP, and he simply decided to play Valley of the Damned. What happened after is something that nobody expected. A 2-miss 3-slider break run on Valley of the Damned. This is a 1.5k PP record choke that is still worth 900 PP even with those slider breaks and misses. I think you can guess what was everyone's reaction when this happened. Okay, so that's my personal favorite score of his, but what are Ninerik's favorite scores that he has set? Well, how about a hidden Nightcore FC on NNRT where he only got 2 100s? Or maybe the first ever hidden DTFC on Eyes of the Devil Elliot? But as of me recording this video, Ninerik is currently at the top 4 and he's currently participating in courses for the team Flopinski. For those of you wondering, Flopinski was a team formed by Maliszewski, Henry, Intergaming and Gnahus, and they would slowly but surely invite more and more people into the team, one of the recent being MCY4, Tsuwagi and Kriller. Speaking of which, one of Ninerik's goals is to win courses in the perennials together with Flopinski. He also aims to get a PP record at least once and reach the top 3. The craziest goal is probably FCing and holding number 1 on every single difficulty on Reign of Fear with Hidden Nightcore. Let me know if you think that he will achieve that in the future, because based on the replay that I'm showing you right now, it might be pretty doable, I am not gonna lie. I've also asked Ninerik if technique really matters when it comes to speed. Well, feel free to read here, but a TLDR, comfort over specific technique in his personal belief. And as a final message to the people watching, just don't let anyone tell you how to play the game. You do you. And yeah, that should be it. Oh shit, Luby, what's up, man?
Really high mountain. Stu, by the way, remember those taxes? You gotta pay those. You know, you gotta pay those taxes, man.
Oh, God fucking damn it, why did you remind— I am offering you a blue pill and a red pill. If you take the blue pill, you will be a well-respected AIM top 100 or maybe even a top 50 player, just like many other players in the community. However, if you take the red pill, you will discover a certain feature that is on the routing keyboards that will let you be able to stream unbelievable amounts of BPM on maps and absolutely skyrocket through the rankings and maybe even overtake the #1 player in Osu, Emrak. The catch is you may be caught using this feature and get banned in Osu. The subject in today's video chose the red pill, and in this video you will see the side effects of choosing this path in your Osu career. These are the last 72 hours of Cloutiful's Osu career and the biggest cheating scandal that this game has ever seen. Before we start talking about the biggest cheating scandal in Osu history, we have to do a slight introduction to Cloutiful. Cloutiful at the time was a top 3 player that was absolutely dominating the scene. Back in 2023, he was seen as an up-and-coming top player that was absolutely dominating the scene with some of his aim scores. But towards the end of 2023 and moving towards the start of 2024, Cloutiful has pretty much made the switch to speed plays, setting loads of impressive speed scores scores that not a lot of people can replicate. One of his most impressive scores at the time was his 1.4 kpp play on Valley of the Whale 3 mod, and overall in 2024 he was showcasing his speed skills, especially in the last week. And with him recently passing Lifeline, we all thought that he was going to maybe be the next #1 player with really impressive aim and speed skills, or so we thought. On the 13th of June of 2024, Scytho, another really high ranked also top player, finally managed to rank one of his insanely broken speed maps by the name of Gnahus. Well, technically he appears as a guest div, but you know what I mean. This was a very important moment for him because he was trying to rank this for a pretty decent amount of time, and if he managed to rank it, he would have gotten a really good FC with double time on it that would really skyrocket him through the rankings, which he managed to do, setting his new top lane, which was worth 1416 pp, and managed to reach rank 1 in USA with this play. However, someone shortly after stole the spotlight from Scytho, and it was the one and only Cloutiful, who managed to set a 1482 pp play, which was his new top play at the time, reaching the number 3 spot on the leaderboards, passing Lifeline. This was a huge deal at the time because this was the first time that there was a huge change in the top 3, because for the past 1.5 years, Lifeline, Aquilibet, and Emmerich have been taking the top 3 spots. On top of that, a few moments later, Cloutiful decided to play the same map with 3 mod this time, and he managed to set a play with only 6 misses that was worth 1.3k pp, which would have been a 2000 pp play if it wasn't for the misses. This was also a big deal because this was the closest that a person has ever been to reaching a 2000 pp play in Osu. And well, for the past few days after this, Cloutiful has been the topic of talk for a lot of people, but little did they know that a bombshell of a post would be dropped. On the subreddit by the name of r/OsuReport, someone by the name of Child Fangirl posted an interesting discovery. At the start of the post, they claimed that they have found strong evidence leading to believe that Cloutiful is using a relax bot or just cheating in Osu overall, because apparently in Cloutiful's replays, his average circle hold time distribution almost always hits 63 milliseconds. For some context, this is inhuman and not even the best of the best top players could ever do. For comparison, this is Scytho's hold time distribution on his play on Gnahus compared to Cloutiful's hold time distribution on Gnahus. The same is pretty much present in his Juvenile play, and this is a comparison to Aquilibet's play, and pretty much any speed play that Cloutiful has said or you can even think of. Another Reddit user also discovered that on some of his no-mod plays, the same behavior could be spot, except instead of 63, it would show 42, because 42 times 1.5, which is the double time modification, would equal to 63. Unlike a previous cheating scandal that recently happened, a lot of people agreed that this was really good evidence. On top with the fact that Cloutiful would also deny showing his handcam because of certain reasons, people were starting to raise suspicions over him. The most notable example of someone raising suspicions over this entire situation was the top player by the name of Ciccone. He tweeted this at first, stating that if Cloutiful gets banned and if this report is real, then Enterna, aka Merami, is still the best speed player that this game has ever seen. Ciccone was also very suspicious about the fact that every time he was in VC with him, he would be able to hear his voice clearly, but he wouldn't be able to hear his keyboard at all. Another top player by the name of Akenzix also shared a conversation he had with Cloutiful, where Cloutiful essentially said voila, pretty much stating on God that he's not cheating in this game at all. On top of that, Cloutiful also tweeted that he was recording the live play currently. However, an interesting discovery was done when a group of people that have contributed to the PP system decided to investigate this situation on their own. You see, when the report was released about Cloutiful and his weird hold time distribution, people were suspicious of the screenshots and they might have not believed that this was real. And that's why Maliszewski, on top of a few other people, formed a group where they made a similar program that also calculated hold times for Osu replays to see if they get similar results for the same Cloutiful replays. And surely enough, they managed to get the exact same results. On top of that, they also decided to calculate the hold time on Cloutiful's entire top 100 plays combined, and the graph pretty much looks identical for every single play. This is how Ninerik's top 50 plays look compared to Cloutiful's top 100. On top of that, they also managed to discover the fact that they only managed to recreate the 63 ms thing using a routing feature by the name of dynamic keystroke, and it essentially works like this. When you press all the way down, it's one input, and when you release the key, it registers another input, which is essentially against the rules because it registers an input that you're supposed to be doing on yourself, but instead a software is doing it for you. Almost an entire day passes and people have been waiting for this live play to be uploaded for a very long time now. So much so that Ninerik posted this, stating that he has been waiting for a pretty long time now. But after a very long time, Cloutiful finally decided to release a live play. And in the live play, you can clearly see that Cloutiful was actually double tapping screams. In the first hour or so, some people were maybe believing this, saying that it's actually rather interesting that he was using different actuation points on two keys to double tap screams, and people actually believed that he was using this to stream high BPM streams. So for the first hour, it looked decent. However, 1 hour after this live play was uploaded, Cloutiful's YouTube channel got deleted and his Twitter was deactivated. At first, there was a rumor going around that Cloutiful might have been hacked, because on the live play itself he typed out his password for his Osu account, which was viewable to everyone, combined with the fact that his email was present in the video as well, and people thought that he was using the same password for every account that he created on any social media and just got hacked. But all that would change when an Osu top player by the name of Plasma decided to tweet this. After talking with Cloutiful for a bit, he's admitted and giving me permission to pass on that he cheated using Wooting's dynamic keystroke function to provide an unfair advantage in his tapping. He utilized DKS to change one of his keys, the key his non-dominant finger was on, to only activate on an upstroke, which means you can press Z and X at the same time to get really low UR screams. This can be used to get inhuman ag on high OD speed if you can single tap it. Please don't go out of your way to contact him or harass him. He's realized his mistake and he's already taking steps to work on himself, hence him deactivating his Twitter and YouTube. He will make his own statement when he is ready to return to the community. As you might have guessed, the community was an absolute shock. People simply couldn't believe the fact that a cheater managed to get all the way to the rank 3 spot on the leaderboards. The Osu community has had its fair share of cheating scandals, but this one right here might be the biggest one that this game has ever seen, because nobody in the history of this game has ever managed to reach the top 3 of all spots with cheating, on top of also being undetected for this long. As you might have guessed, Cloutiful's account has been restricted ever since this got released, but because of this entire situation, the community will simply not be the same. If a player in the top 10 managed to get there by using a cheat, then imagine the amount of other players that will be accused of cheating as well, which might be slowly but surely happening. Wooting at first didn't understand as to why this was cheating in Osu, but after it was explained to them, they made a follow-up tweet addressing and pretty much confirming that if you use this feature on their keyboard that you will most likely be banned in Osu, and they asked the question what hardware makers can do with software makers to create an environment encouraging fair play. But the moral of the story is play legit, don't use cheats in Osu, because at the end of the day these skeletons in the closet will catch up to you. My name is Stu, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Invincible.
Competitive games, we all like to play them, we all like to rage at them. But what's something that almost every single competitive game has in common when a new patch update releases? Oh, that's right, it's a little word known as a meta. And no, I'm not talking about the company that has done some pretty suspicious things in the past, and it might be in war with a bird app. But anyways, that's besides the point. Osu has had multiple metas throughout the years, from spaced streams to jumps to high AR jumps to what is now the current meta, which is pretty much speed consistency, something like that. Since the release of the previous PP changes, we've seen a lot of new players in the top 100. Laro, Ninerik, Xyles, Eterna. I mean, goddamn, even Ninerik and Lifeline became speed players out of everyone. But out of all the players in the top 10, there's only one player that one player that decided that they didn't want to follow what's the current popular meta in the game. That one player that nobody knows anything about that managed to reach the top 5 on their own way. And yes, of course, I'm talking about Gnahus, the current number 4 player in Osu. Ah, shit, no! Okay, let's do a quick introduction to Gnahus. So, Gnahus is a 17-year-old player from Poland who, unlike most top players who focus more on speed right now, he focuses more on the aim aspect of the game. You won't hear him how he sounds in this video because he does prefer his privacy, but let's just get started on how he actually found out about Osu, which is pretty simple and straightforward. He just found a random play on his YouTube recommended page and was like, oh shit, this game looks interesting. You know what, I'm going to try it. So that's how in August 1st of 2018 he registered his Osu account. Unlike most players, he wasn't instantly hooked into the game. He tried it every now and then, but he didn't actively start playing the game until April of 2019. That's when he found out that this game is pretty fun to play. However, one problem that we have with this video and Gnahus is that even if I wanted to show you his first plays, progression and so on, I couldn't really do that because of one major problem, and that's the fact that Gnahus himself doesn't even remember his earlier top plays. Not only that, but apparently he lost his Osu folder that had replays from 2019 to 2022. What we can confirm for sure though is the fact that Gnahus' improvement is insanely fast. He managed to reach 4 digits within 1 year and 4 months of playing the game actively. 2020 as a year for his improvement was actually crazy because around March of that year he was setting plays like 244 pp, 250. Around the end of May he managed to set his very first 300 pp play on VTV size, which is an A map, one of the maps that you're watching currently in the background. And then no joke, a month and a half later he set his very first 400 pp play. One thing that I think you notice from the very start of me showing his score progression is that he mainly focuses on 2 things: Nomad aim and DT aim. That might be part of the reason why he improved so fast, because he focused on only one thing, that thing being aim, of course. And obviously when everyone is farming one thing, they're like Gnahus is going to join that and greatly benefit from it. That's how he managed to reach from 4 digit to 3 digit in half a year. Gnahus hit 4 digit around July of 2020 and then he hit 3 digit around the end of the year. Maps that he played around that time to gain so much ranks are stuff like Dakara, Change, Cold Green Eyes, Base Slot, Chica to Chica Chica, and many more maps that I can list for hours. His fast improvement rate continued throughout the whole year of 2021, farming the most popular DTA maps that were at the time, like for example Imagination, Start Again, Yumeshizu, and many more. And as you can see from the graph that I'm showing you on screen right now, from around end of March to like the end of July, he grinded a lot. Because of this grind around that period, he hit top 100 for the very first time. And ever since then, he has never left the top 100. First ever time he was quote unquote close to leaving the top 100 was the release of the new PP rework that made a lot of changes in the game. One of the main changes is that DT aim farm maps were pretty much nerfed by a huge amount, and because Gnahus is a more aim-oriented player, he lost a ton of ranks, dropping from rank 48 all the way down to rank 73. Here's the interesting part of 2022 and the PP changes that happened the year before that. In 2022, players slowly but surely were shifting their focus more towards stream maps, DT speed maps, and stuff like that. Like even the number 1 player, Emrek, was focusing on maps like the Pretender, Feeling Sky, Light It Up, and those are maps that still haven't been sniped to this day, believe it or not. But Gnahus, on the other hand, he just pretty much stick to what he was good at before. Gnahus so far has had 2 pretty big pop-ups that we're going to talk about in this video. We are going to focus more on the second one because that's the one that most people are familiar with. The first pop-up period started around July 21st and lasted until the end of September, where he went from rank 63 all the way to rank 20. In this period, he managed to set multiple 800 and 900 PP plays. A little interesting thing to know about Gnahus is that he does believe that setup really doesn't matter. In fact, believe it or not, he set his first ever 900 PP play with a, as he refers to it, random off-brand Polish keyboard that he used to have. Gnahus really showed the world what he's capable of with this pop-off, but let's just say he flexed even more to the world when he did his second major pop-off that we're going to talk about right now. For pretty much the entirety of April of 2023, he pretty much showed the world what he's capable of with only aim. Shocked everyone when he set his very first 1000 PP play on a map that's pretty much less than 1 minute. I mean, just take a look at how fast and crazy this is. Gnahus didn't stop there, he continued his pop-off by setting 1Ks on maps like Happy Luck, Mirror, Metal Crusher, and of course his choke on Sendom Life. Thanks to all these 1000 PP plays, Gnahus jumped from rank 20 all the way to rank 4, which is his current rank at the moment. Finally, let's talk about Gnahus' tournament history. Gnahus has managed to participate in a lot of tournaments, but out of all the tournaments that he has participated in, he managed to grab 3 badges: Bubbly QT Osu Party 3, K and Yolk Spy Scramble, and Kai's Finesse Cup 2023. But you will be surprised that actually out of all the 3 tournaments that I just mentioned, none of them is actually his favorite. His favorite tournament experience so far was OWC 2022. And the reason for it is simple, he just liked the people he was in a team with and just the overall chill vibe in VCs he had with the Polish team. You know the Polish team is chill with it. Polska Guru. Anyways, as a final conclusion to the video, I guess you can say that if you just stick to what you're good at, you can for sure succeed in this game. You don't have to always follow the game's meta if you want to succeed in it or set amazing scores. For Gnahus and what he's gonna do in the future is just play and enjoy the game until he gets bored of it. As a final message to you guys, just play songs that you like and don't force yourself to play the game when you're not feeling like it. Anyways, shout out to my boy Filthy who helped me get in contact with Gnahus. If it wasn't for him, this interview wouldn't have happened.
Ha, you little bitch. I got you this time.
Well, Mr. Felty, unlike the last time you ended my life, I have a backup plan now. How about you look behind you? Not so tough now, aren't you, you little bitch? So you're watching the grand finals of the Osu World Cup for 2023 and you just witnessed one of the most amazing OWC matches in history. Even though this is the 6th time that the USA has won OWC, you're still pretty satisfied with the ending of the entire tournament. You look at the match cost for each player and you see that Vaxei has absolutely performed amazing in that match. A few days pass by after the grand finals of OWC and you see that players are slowly but surely announcing their retirement for Osu, which are usually long extended breaks in which after a pretty long time they will certainly come back to the game because you know you're here forever. But then there's Vaxei who just put bye on his me bio on his Osu profile, and since then we have never seen any activity or announcements from Vaxei himself ever again. But why is that? Cut the Visa's music because unfortunately I'm not Visas and I don't know everything about life. However, there is definitely a discussion to be made about this topic since Vaxei has been taking breaks for a pretty long time. And this time, no joke, he might actually be quitting Osu forever. Before we continue with this topic, my goal for this year is to reach to the beat in subscribers so we can be the most subscribed Osu news channel on YouTube. So if you want to help me out with this journey of mine, then be sure to hit that sub button, it would really be appreciated. So over the course course of his Osu career, Vaxei has had so far 3 major breaks. Vaxei's first major break starts at February 16th of 2019, and he wouldn't come back to playing actively until June of 2019. The only logical reason why Vaxei took a break around this period is pretty simple actually. If you think about it, from February all the way to June, the only thing Vaxei could have done is probably schoolwork, and it would make a lot of sense for him to study around this period because it's towards the end of the school year, which would kinda explain his pop-off in June. Of course, he did play in every now and then, but not as actively as before. And well, in June of 2019, we all know what happened. Tsukinami, then a little bit later we got Wizard's Tower in July, him reaching the #1 spot for the first time, and I don't need to explain everything else. He would continue the year with grinding different tournaments and of course winning the infamous Osu World Cup 2019, and then a few months later in March of 2020 he decided to take a break from the game once again. However, this time he would return all the way in August of 2020, and just like last time, this break lasted all the way until summer of that year. And I think we can genuinely consider 2 things as to why he took a break around this period. The first factor is obviously stuff like school, social life, other interests, other games maybe, you know what I mean. And the second factor is obviously reaching his goals in Osu. I mean, if you think about it, you would probably be satisfied if you won Osu World Cup 2 times in a row, set the PP record 2 times in the game, having a decent amount of tournament wins, and of course the biggest goal of them all, reaching the #1 rank in Osu. I mean, by the time he took a break, Whitecat already was rank 1 in Osu, but if you reach the rank 1 spot even once in Osu history, you will be written in the history books and a lot of people will still remember that day. However, as I said previously, he would return to the game in August of 2020, and this time of course he shifted his focus a little bit towards tournaments. And in this span, he managed to win a total of 5 tournaments. Now in this video, I'm not going to go over every single tournament. If you do want to see how he performed in every single tournament, then I do suggest that you watch the Nerdiness's video. But I think the fact that he managed to win the United States Cup for the 2nd time, the Osu World Cup for a 3rd time, winning the first ever Moist Critical Osu tournament, winning the first ever iteration of the Perennials, and of course the Yuki Aim tournament is a pretty solid explanation as to how dominant Vaxei was around this period. And then in February of 2022, silence once again and no activity from Vaxei until next year. Not even popular tournaments like Charlie's math class or even the Osu World Cup would be enough to bring him back. Everyone genuinely believes that Vaxei actually quit the game forever this time. Even BTMC himself said that on a clip. But then again, nobody expected that he would return in April of 2023. And in the same year, we also did not expect that he would return in tournaments as well, because this was so random and out of nowhere, and I'll explain a little bit later in the video as to why. And while we followed his journey along the way, he FC'd Chronostasis out of nowhere once he came back to the game. We saw his crazy performance in the Emmerich tournament, where even though he got defeated by Maliszewski like 3 separate times, we were still entertained to watch him against other players in this day and age, and also to see how he's holding up with today's players. And of course, for one final time, we witnessed Vaxei win the Osu World Cup for the 4th time in his Osu career, until finally saying goodbye to everyone. And I mean literally just 07 on his me page. Right at the end of the tournament, BTMC stated that he was surprised that he even returned for a 3rd time after a conversation that he had with him. And you may be wondering what this conversation could be about. Well, I can't say for 100% sure that the conversation went just like I'm going to explain it to you, but here's the thing, Vaxei has been playing this game for 9, almost 10 years, and over the course of those years, he managed to get these badges right here that you're seeing. He managed to get the PP record multiple times, reached rank 1 multiple times as well, and on top of that, he also won the Osu World Cup 4 times. And probably the biggest milestone that everyone knows about, setting the very first 1000 PP play in Osu, when absolutely nobody could have. What else do you want from this guy right here? He has literally proved that he's one of the best players that this game has ever seen, and there's also nothing else for him to achieve. Like, of course, like people are saying, he can go for rank 1 once again, and of course he can go for other stuff, I don't know, win more tournaments, but like, why even bother with that? The reality of the situation is that Vaxei is most likely satisfied with everything that he has achieved with this game, and now it's time for him to focus on other stuff in life. Of course, he is going to play every now and then because, again, nobody leaves the game forever, and he's probably doing that right now, just playing offline. But then again, who are we to judge for what he decides to do in life? And if you start to look at other players the same way that we looked at Vaxei, then you will understand as to why some people are just quitting. I mean, for example, look at Eternal. He peaked at rank 2, has set some multiple crazy speed PP records, and has proven to the community that he is probably one of the best, if not the best speed player that this game will ever see in its entire history. Another really great example would be Chocomint, because in June of 2024 it's going to be his 15th year of playing this game, and in the span of those 15 years he has reached the #1 rank multiple times. He has won multiple tournaments, created accidentally probably the most popular meme in Osu, set multiple game-breaking PP records, and so on and so on. I don't think I need to explain everything else. I can also rinse and repeat the same thing about White Cat as well, how he was dominant for 550 days straight, and it took a really insane force like Emrek for him to finally get surpassed in the game. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story for this video is to continue grinding and to focus on your goals and don't let anyone else determine them for you. Do the things that you want to do, not anyone else. And once again, always strive to be the best version of yourself, whether it's for Osu, whether it's for anything else in life. You know what I'm talking about. As for Vaxei, well, he may have a change of heart in the future and may actually start playing the game again. However, it will never be the same as it was a few years ago, because in those 2 slices of crispy bacon we see a satisfied person. But yeah, that's everything that I have for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments and let's start the discussion. When it comes to players in the top 50, people generally know how they got to the point they are right now. For example, White Cat, a player that was banned for 3 years, then got unbanned and dominated the Osu rankings. Zutinator, one of the best female players in the game, known for her insane hidden and hidden hard rock scores and playing in a lot of tournaments, as you can see. And Utami. We are not going to talk about Utami. However, sometimes there's players in the top 50 that generally people know, but they don't know how they got to the point they are right now. One of those examples would be Maliszewski, a top 20 Polish player that has been dominating the tournament scene, yet not a lot of information is known about him. This is the interesting story of the tournament beast known as Maliszewski. Before we actually start, let's quickly summarize everything we know about him. Maliszewski is a 15-year-old Polish player currently in the top 20, known for his insane dominance in the tournament Osu scene. So much so that as of me recording this audio, he has 19 tournament badges. He is also known for setting some insane scores in the game, like for example doing stuff like this. And many more examples that I can show for hours and hours, but we already know that. So, how did Maliszewski even discover Osu? Well, for that we need to go all the way back to 2016. A young 7-year-old Maliszewski wasn't allowed to go outside at the evening hours because it was too late, of course. And the only thing he could do at that period of time is wait for his father to come back from work so he can get his laptop and watch some fun videos on YouTube. You know, the website that you're on right now watching this video. That was pretty much the only thing he could do at that period of time. One day he stumbled upon a Osu YouTube video on his recommended page, and since then he has always been interested in playing the game. Fast forward to 2018 and Maliszewski finally has his own laptop, and this is where his Osu journey begins. This is pretty much the same story for any game he has started playing. The first ever map Maliszewski stumbled upon is All Falls Down, map by Plaudible. You're currently watching the map in the background, and as Maliszewski said, this is a certified banger. Not much is known about Maliszewski's first couple of plays in Osu, because believe it or not, even Maliszewski doesn't remember this period that much. However, based on the play count, we can assume that he has a really good score progression, because he actively started playing around June 2018 and he was able to set his first 300 PP play in January 2019. His very first 300 PP play was set on Mount Stratus Santa Sun with Nomad. An important thing to mention is that Maliszewski around this time was playing a lot of Nomad farm maps. For those of you that don't know, farm maps are maps that are pretty short but give a lot of performance points. points. An example of these maps would be Can Do, Lonely Gold, Black Rover, Happy Time, 5150, and so on. Right after setting his first ever 400 PP play on the top diff of Kimi no Buken, Maliszewski started experimenting a little bit with DT, setting scores on maps like Compilation, Change, Chica, and many more. Also, I think it's pretty important to mention his fast progression in the game. He set his first 300, 400, and 500 PP play in the first 7 months of 2019. After setting a B rank score with DT on Last Goodbye, Maliszewski decided to take a little break from Osu, mainly playing offline or on private servers. However, after roughly 4 months, he decided to come back to the game stronger than ever before, focusing more on DT this time, setting scores on maps like Just Status and even setting his first 600 PP play on Quaver. Just to put into perspective how insane Maliszewski's progression in the game is, he almost reached top 500 within the first 1.5 years of him playing the game. However, after setting these insane top plays, Maliszewski almost stopped playing the game completely. One of the main reasons for this is that he was having a really hard time in life trying to process everything that was happening around him, and because of this he started to lose motivation to play the game. Also, not to mention that this was around the time when COVID started to appear, and also he moved to other games like for example Overwatch. He played a lot of Overwatch around that time. His final and official comeback to the game would be on August 2020. It would take a bit of grinding to get back on track with DT plays and other stuff, but after roughly 3 months he managed to set his very first 700 PP play on Start Again with DT, and because of this grinding around October and November, he managed to jump from rank 392 all the way to rank 140, and he ended the year off at around that rank. At the start of 2021, Maliszewski would shift his focus on something else in Osu. 2021 would mark the start of Maliszewski's tournament journey. The very first tournament he signed up to was Nick's Winter Cup 2021. Just so you don't get confused, Maliszewski at the time was going under a different username, that username being Ristal. For his first ever tournament experience, let's just say that he was matched up with some pretty tough opponents, those opponents being Skydiver and Zootinator. But considering this was his first ever tournament, he did really well. He managed to get both of his opponents to tiebreaker. Unfortunately, he did lose both of his matches. He would then continue to grind some ranks, getting from rank 136 all the way to rank 77. Later on in the year, he would participate in one of Osu's biggest tournaments, that tournament being Corsair's Open 2021, a tournament of 64 teams participating to win an insane prize pool of $2,500. And Maliszewski was matched up with some pretty popular players like for example Tvojdstara, Stuf, Mistia, and many others. They had a pretty good run in the tournament, winning 3rd place, getting themselves $120, and with this tournament Maliszewski got his very first badge. Later on, at the start of October, Maliszewski would have a weekend of a lifetime. On October 1st, 2021, Maliszewski would set 800 PV play with a DTFC on Sanglo. Then on October 2nd, 2021, he set a hidden DTFC on Necrophantasia with 99 AK that was worth 888 PP at the time, and because of these scores he went from rank 70 to rank 50. And if you thought that was crazy, then on the 3rd of October 2021, which was a Sunday, Maliszewski would win an Osu tournament known as Osu Polish Masters that granted him a whopping prize of $200, and he got his 2nd tournament badge. The end of October was nearing, and that marks the start of Osu's biggest yearly tournament, which at the time was OWC 2021. He was put together in a team with Poland's biggest Osu stars like for example Rafis, Wabulwolf, Mustache, and many more, and they did pretty well. They managed to win against the Czech Republic and Sweden to go to the quarterfinals, where they lost 6-2 against Germany. They went to the losers bracket against Romania and they lost 6-3. And Maliszewski's performance overall in the tournament was really good. By score performance he was ranked number 12 on round of 32 and round of 16, and on quarterfinals he was actually ranked number 1. Around the start of November of 2021, also released the Zexo rework, and because of this Maliszewski lost a couple ranks, going from rank 46 to rank 70. But that wouldn't be much of a problem because at the end of December Maliszewski had a pop-off once again, going all the way to rank 43, setting scores on maps on Kyoki Rambu, Lost in Time, and of course Yomiuri. Before we continue with 2022, I like to mention some important things about Maliszewski. Believe it or not, pretty much everyone inspires Maliszewski to be the player that he is right now. He wants to be like every player combined, great at everything that the game has to offer. Even though he's not something close to that, he would still like to be the best version of himself. Seeing other players set some scores and being happy about it makes him happy as well and stays motivated to keep trying even if he feels like he reached his limit already. And I think because of this mindset, he showed in 2022 what he was capable of. Honestly, Maliszewski has done so many things in 2022 that I can make a separate video analyzing every single tournament that he has won. But to not make this video super long, I'll quickly go over everything that Maliszewski has done in 2022. In January of 2022, he managed to climb all the way to rank 18 and winning an Osu tournament by the name of Osu Mercenary Shop 3 Tier 1 that rewarded him with 1 month of Osu supporter and a badge. In February, he didn't focus much on climbing ranks because he was focusing on winning the Nyx Winter Cup 2022, which he managed to win. At the time, this was his highest rewarding tournament, winning an insane amount of 570 euro. In March of 2022, he won 2 tournaments. The first one is PIC 2022 and the second one is Osu Battle Royale 5. On that day, he earned himself $380. In April, he was participating in AIM Cup in a team together with Badu. The tournament was finished on the 24th of April 2022, where both players earned themselves 75 euro. In June of 2022, he won the Perennials, another pretty popular also team-based tournament where he won himself $315. In July of 2022, Maliszewski won 3 tournaments. One of them is his biggest win yet. The first tournament he won is Bubbly QT Osu Party 3. The team won 6 months of Osu supporter plus a banner and a badge. But what is arguably the biggest tournament he has won is Charlie's Perfect Math Class, a tournament where in the grand finals, Maliszewski faced what is in his opinion his hardest opponent yet, which was Utami. And with this win, he managed to earn himself $4,500. And the final tournament he won is Konyo Cup 2022, where he earned himself a badge. He also got 4th place in Yaz's Summer Cup 2022, where he earned himself $150. In August, he won 1 tournament, which was the Finnish Dual Cup 2022. He earned himself a badge with this one. Fast forward to September of that year, he was participating in an AIM 16-player Battle Royale, where he got 3rd place and earned himself $120. In the same month, he got 2nd place in Course Case Open 2022, where he earned himself $135. In October, he won 2 tournaments. Circle Circuit Championship 2022 that rewarded him with $200, and Siratora Trio Cup where he got rewarded twice. First time he got $73 for being on the winning team, and second time for being the MVP of the whole tournament, earning himself $170. He also won Hitomi's Hidden Extra where he earned himself a badge as well. In November, he got a badge for winning Pandits' Fosuichi Cup. Maliszewski reached his peak rank, which was rank 12. He also set the current hidden PP record with an insane FC on Yomiuri with hidden. And finally, in December of 2022, he got 2 badges for winning K and Yolk Spice's Scramble and Resurrection Cup Cataclysm contest. And the final thing to mention about 2022 is Maliszewski's performance in OWC. The Polish team was already stacked enough, but with the help of Maliszewski, they managed to get all the way to the semi-finals. And they were literally inches close from participating in the finals. Not to mention, he was the best performing player in almost every single round in the OWC tournament. Here are some bonus things that I forgot to add in the video. The reason why Maliszewski wanted to focus more on tournaments is because he watched the Polish team play in OWC 2020 and he wanted to play in the tournament as well. So since then, he has focused more on tournaments and tournament play. In his opinion, the proudest achievement that he has achieved is being able to play at his best when he is in a tourney match, while also keeping the expectations that everyone has for him. His favorite tourney experience so far is the 3-digit World Cup 2021. If you want to know why, be sure to pause and read. As for his future plans, he wants to chill and enjoy the free time he has while he's still young. And as a final message to the audience, do your own thing. Enjoy the game the way that you like. You can farm PP, grind your skill, play tournaments. It doesn't matter at all. It's your decision how you play the game. I've been Stu. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.